Today we're going to start. This will be part one of I don't know how many parts there will be, but a 4-year period of time where we lived in probably the most haunted home I've ever seen. I've never found anything more haunted than this particular home. Now, during the years that I have been a paranormal investigator, I have found several reasons for some of the hauntings, but not all of them. So let's start with, I guess on one of my prior videos, we lived on a farm in Derby. And before that, our house had burned down. So we took kind of a temporary house, which was a Cape Cod home. And then we decided, well, we needed to live at like on a farm because we had horses. So we put our bid in on the farm and lost it the first time to someone else. So in the process of having to reconfigure our thoughts, we decided, okay, let's look at the schools in the different areas around this farm because we really liked it out there. So in doing our research, I went south a little bit, about 14 miles south of where the farm was. And there was a couple of small towns there that had schools. And the elementary and the high school were about 7 miles apart. And we looked at the elementary school, and then we went south and west and looked at the high school. But before I could even see the high school, there it was. Like literally the house of my dreams. It sat there in its original 70s paint, not original, but the mustard and the poop brown color, not beautiful, not looking her glorious self, but she was unique. She was beautiful, had a huge carriage house, and sat on 5 acres in town. This town was a town of about 199 people, maybe, and very small, not even a grocery store there. Everything in the downtown area had pretty much burned or fallen down. So it was not a happening place, but it was quiet. The house sat there with a for sale sign out front. Wow, wasn't that fortuitous, right? We were looking for a home, and that was an amazing home. So I called our realtor, who we were working with, and I said, Leland, there's a house for sale here in, I'm not going to say the town, but there's a house for sale that we would like to buy. How much is it? What can we do? So he told us, and the house was actually about $20,000 more than an 80-acre farm that we were buying, but I really wanted it. So I said, what do we need to do? And so he said, I'll get back to you in a few minutes. And then when he got back to me, he said, well, I'm really sorry. We did have another contract on that house we were working on, and we decided to go with that. Didn't even give me a chance to counter. Shot down, just like that. But as luck would have it, about 2-3 weeks later, he called us back and he said, hey, you still want that farm in Derby? The people that we took the contract on can't come up with the down payment. So we got the farm in Derby. So every day almost for 4 years, I would take my oldest daughter to that school, and I had to circle that. I circled around that house every single time. I'd go around, stop at the school next door and circle around, go around behind the house, come up the side of the house. And every day I would say, one day I'm going to own you. Someday you're going to be mine. And the kids got to the point where they just roll their eyes. I think maybe 1 out of the 3 believed that would ever happen. But sure enough, 4 years later, in 2000, I was actually going to go pick up one of my daughters. She was at a volleyball game, and the house had a for sale sign in front of it. It said, for sale by owner, which meant that the investor that purchased it was selling it. And no bank would really finance it because it was not livable. He hadn't done a whole lot in 4 years. Decided that he was going to move to North Carolina. And I'm kind of thinking he took the grant funds that he got for that house with him because there wasn't a whole lot of evidence in the house. But we called him, put a contract on it. Then we went ahead, and it was going to be a 6-month stint so that we could get it livable and our bank would take it. During that time, the kids and I were in and out of the house painting. I hired a very reputable electric company to do the electric, and 6 guys, I think 6, maybe more guys showed up because this house was like 10,000 square feet, including the basement, which you could have, at one time you can see where it could have been very livable down there, but it had a monstrous attic, and it was just it had a limestone tower on the front, an onion, I guess they called it an onion top roof on that round tower. I mean, the features on this, it had a 2,700 square foot carriage house out back that was nice enough for their servants that, in its day, you and I would have been living in luxury, compared to a lot of the servants back then anyway. But we really, God, that was a beautiful house. So I called the guy, put a contract on it, and got it done. So the plan was to fix that house up with the stocks that my husband was getting from living in Arizona for 4 years. And then we would rent the farmhouse out to have the extra income. Good plan, right? Well, kids and I started working on it. We'd work till the wee hours of the morning painting the very 70s paint palette that was in there. Put in some new carpet, cleaned her up, hired a man named Claude. He was a local. He wasn't as reputable as the electric company, but he did the job. And he put in a working bathroom, and a laundry room, and then helped us get a functioning kitchen in. Still didn't have any heat or air though. The AC wasn't as big a deal as the heat was. In Iowa, winters are brutal. That's just, they could be terrible. So anyway, we were working on that. Kids and I are painting till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we would hear walking in the attic. The attic, I never saw any animals in the attic, like raccoons, squirrels. I'm sure we had maybe some squirrels at some point in time, but the guys that were doing the electric were taking out the old electric, which was, I don't think it was knob and tube. I think it was that fabric covered type wire. And they were putting in the modern conduit and grounding and all the things that it would need so it wouldn't burn down. But the thing that was the most amazing about this house to me is, how you watch ghost hunting shows, and they go to maybe a nursing home or a hospital that's been abandoned for 10 years, and the paint is peeling off the walls. There's graffiti everywhere. The doors are off the hinges. The windows are broken. This house had sat empty for 20 years prior to us buying it. All the paint palette was still in the 70s when the teacher fixed it. There was a teacher in the 70s who totally refinished the house and made her look shiny, and beautiful. And I think ultimately he saved the house and kept it from actually being in that kind of shape when we bought it. But it was just, it was an amazing place. The only thing that was missing is somebody had stolen all the stained glass windows out of the dormer type, the skinny windows above the big windows. So we didn't have any of the stained glass in it. And there were boards on some of the windows, like from where birds had flown through. There was a BB hole here and there, but ultimately that house, the paint wasn't even peeling. And it was in the best shape I'd ever seen a house of 20 years of neglect I'd ever seen. I'm sure that the investor cleaned it up some, but it was almost like somebody cared for it. There wasn't any settling. It had a full basement. Like I said, the attic was amazing. It had the original slate roofs on it. There was some leaking on that. And even then in 2001, to fix a slate roof back then was $60,000 a side. That was the quotes we got to fix that roof. $60,000 per side. That's enough to build a new house, right? So, but we weren't daunted. Nope, we were going to do this. So we got in there and we would hear walking in the attic. Sometimes we thought sounded like voices, but none of it was scary. From the time we stepped into that house and started painting, to the time we finally moved our furniture in, we felt super welcome. Like the house was almost relieved it had a family again. And we felt just nothing but happiness, in what we were doing. We always brushed the noises in the attic. Yeah, it's just a raccoon. Yeah, a raccoon in combat boots, but whatever it takes, right? And we did literally have a squirrel. I have pictures, I think, of the little squirrel that was in the primary bedroom. Got in through, I think, probably one of the holes in the slate roof, but still, it wasn't wearing boots, so I don't think that's what we heard in the attic. Anyway, that was the mild part of it. Now, as things progressed on, we had workers there. Like I said, we had 6, maybe 8 people in the crew to put in electric because we really wanted to get it done in time for my oldest daughter's graduation in June. And so that was we were pushing to get all that done and have it livable so we could get it refinanced sometime in May, because I think that's when our contract ended with the for sale by owner. So we really were pushing. Kids and I got everything moved in and started living there long before everything was done. As soon as Claude got our working bathroom in and some semblance of a kitchen, we started moving furniture in. Now, the crew that we had for the electric would go from 8 to 6 to 4 to 3 until eventually it was just one man. And I can't remember his name was, but he was an older gentleman, probably in his 60s, and he's the only one that toughed it out and got everything done. And when I asked him, I said, how come why are you the only one getting stuck with all this? Because he would have to go up, he had to buy a special ladder because our ceilings were so tall. He didn't have a step ladder to work on, like the chandeliers and stuff that he was putting in. And he would have to go up and down the ladder, because he didn't have anybody to hand him tools, nothing. And he said, well, you just can't keep help here. And I said, is it too far from them? I mean, it was maybe 20 miles to the town where they're from. Is it too far for them? What's the deal? And he said, no. He said, this house is unique. And finally, after talking to him a little while, the story is this. They would be working and their tools would disappear. They'd turn around and they were gone. Like him, this poor guy would go all the way up this monstrous ladder, but before he did it, he was smart. He'd pick out the tools he needed, put the little nuts and bolts or whatever in a cup, and then he'd set it on his paint tray on the ladder, which was usually about 3/4 of the way up. And that way, when he got to the top, he'd have what he needed, and he wouldn't have to go up and down and up and down. He would get to the top, he said, and his tools would be gone. The cup with the nuts in it and stuff might be still in there, but tools gone. He'd come all the way back down that ladder, and they'd be back in his toolbox. Every time. He said it just drove people nuts, and it freaked him out. So we got to the point where we only had one guy who toughed it out. It took him months to get something done I expected it would take a long time because this is a big house and they had to direct everything through the walls, which were still lath and plaster, not drywall, which is tougher to work with in some ways. And so I knew it would take a while, but it took him so much longer because no one would come work at that house. Claude, well, Claude, he had his recreational things that he liked to do. Like I said, he was less reputable, but he did a good job. But there were many times when I came home and he would just he'd start cussing them damn ghosts. And I'm like, okay, what'd they do today? And he said he would have doors upstairs, slam, 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 slam. And so he thought the kids had come home from school and they were running around slamming doors. But nobody'd be there and all the doors would be wide open, like they never were shut. He said he heard me call his name and he'd go all the way upstairs to see what I wanted. I wasn't there. And so he would tough it out. He put in a full bathroom. He put in the laundry room. And then he helped get a working kitchen in for us. And then he was going to put in the Capex heating system under the floor. No, heating system never happened. He put in a temporary, I don't even know what the heck it was, like a heat blower thing that he would point up the stairs. And that was the end of him. He'd had enough of that house. So we never got heat in by the time we actually moved out. It took us 2 years just to get the electric and things to get done enough so that we could live there. Small towns, not always easy to get help, but that house had a reputation and people just didn't like to stay. We had other it started with that, just simple but annoying, right? No scary stuff. We definitely had some sort of a trickster spirit there because it loved to play pranks. And the pranks were harmless but so annoying. And so basically what happened was, in the beginning, we moved in. We did get moved in by the time my daughter's graduation occurred. And that's about the time we signed the contract with the bank to finance it through the bank. We found out my husband's job was going to change and he would be coming home in September. And stocks were not going to be, they went from $70 a stock to $7. So it started there and it only gets worse. So, and it was a roller coaster ride. And there's days I wish we could have put the money into the farm and just stayed out there. But the experience really, it led me to start my own paranormal group here in Texas to help other people. It taught me a lot. It was definitely something that not everyone ever has been through in their life, and it was a unique experience. So would I trade it? No, but I would preface it more with what I know now that I didn't know then and see what would happen. I'd be curious. So this is part 1, and stick with me because it only gets better from here. Part 2 will come out soon. Thanks for stopping in, and I'll see you all soon. Stay spooky.